this is a time when people just are wondering kind of what this experience is like, and wondering if they have a book in them, and maybe feeling nervous and afraid if they do. And I just would love if we shared a little bit about what taking that leap and going for it was, and how that's kind of affected your life.
So for me, I knew immediately, well, I guess not immediately. I knew for a long time that I wanted to write a book. And when we started talking, you and I, Sabrina, way back when, as soon as I saw that you had posted the course Liberate, I knew immediately that that was going to be the thing that I needed to do to actually make the book happen. And as soon as, it was just an actual connection happened. I could feel it through my whole body. And from that point on, I made a dedicated commitment to join the class. And looking back, I have absolutely no regrets. If I hadn't have joined, book probably would have happened, but it would have been a lot more of a struggle to actually get it to completion. The course, working through it, actually birthed the book. I wouldn't have had probably as much personal, commitment to go through with it. It would have been probably more push and pull rather than just, yes, this is what I'm going to do. I think for me, it was from start to finish, maybe 8 months, if memory serves me, from when we actually started. I know I worked all through the late fall and into 2019, I believe, to actually get the book done and published. And even for me, my own timeline, I was a little ahead of where I thought I would be. But overall, taking the course is the thing that made the book happen and gave me the confidence to make the book happen. And I can't really say that there was any one particular part of the class. It was the whole thing taken as a whole. So everything was vital. Everything was absorbed. And everything I learned found its way either through the process or the editing or the photography. Everything played a role. And it would have been a lot harder to do all those things had it not been for Liberate, because then I would have been doing it completely on my own, trying to figure out who to print it and how do I take the photographs, and the whole thing. So every issue was addressed and I embraced it. And then it was also the support, knowing that I wasn't alone. There were all the other liberators, the gals in the class and the guys that were going through the same things. And so being able to bounce ideas off of everybody, hear their ideas, what they were kind of looking at, all those things made it perfect. There's no other word. It was engaging, it was vital, it was heartfelt, and I felt like everybody was offering their most vulnerable selves. I didn't feel like anybody was holding back their thoughts, as far as the process and being in Liberate. And that closeness, for lack of a better word, really brought it all together.
And beautifully said. Yeah. Sorry, I missed the last thing you said.
I was just going to say the whole thing was worth everything to me, worth everything. Sabrina, it was magical. That whole period was just magical.
Thank you so much. You were the first book born. Thank you so much, Susie. And I'll hold up your book here. Beautiful book here. So thank you so much, Susie, for sharing.
Hi, my name's Allison. Hi, Internet. I just want to echo what Susie was saying about the very visceral knowing the minute, Sabrina, that you announced that you were going to offer this course. And this this yes, this physical, visceral yes in the body that was just undeniable. And I didn't have a book in mind. There was just this germinating thing under the surface that had no name. But I knew I wanted to be a part of that community, and I knew that I didn't have to have all the answers. And that was what was so beautiful about the Liberate process for me, was that, you know, I'm not a trained artist. I didn't go into it with a set understanding of what I wanted to say or produce, but it was the act of being in community, in this beautiful community that Sabrina, that you Liberate fostered, and then the guidance of the course that was so elegant, that made it all just fall into place. But if anybody is going into it saying, but I'm not an artist, but I don't have this, I'm not, or thinking that they don't have a book, they have an idea of a book, they want that experience, but maybe they don't have to have a finished product. That's not something that you need. That's not something that you don't have to know what the final output's going to look like, because the process is going to change you. It changed me and helped me really discover an artistic voice that I didn't even know I had, and a way of seeing the world that I didn't even know was possible for me. And that's something that's priceless.
Thank you so much, Allison. Oh, I see Allison, the other Allison, nodding her head. This is Allison's beautiful book, Altars of Light. Yes. Allison.
Yeah, so my book's not done yet, but gosh, the class is so transformative. And I echo what everybody's saying about, like, just kind of knowing you need to do this and knowing you want to be a part of it. Like, I guess I've always connected with your work, Sabrina. So always. So I knew I wanted to be a part of a community that connected with that work. And I feel like for me, I knew I wanted to do this. I just had no idea how or what I would say. I didn't have confidence in my ability to pull something together. And this, like, it gave me confidence and tools and direction in the writing and the photography and the art, and then pulling it all together into like a coherent whole in a way that was so fun. And Liberate, it's the best name, because I know you'd ask for like one word. I'm like, well, Liberate is the word, like that is the word for the class, because it like unleashed all of this way of making art. And I know beforehand I was kind of stuck. Like, I'd done a lot of art journaling. I felt like I kind of pushed the boundaries of what I could do on my own. And this gave me a whole new, like, just a whole new focus and direction and excitement about creating and going back to things like I had loved free writing and journaling, but it gave me like tools to do that. So, and the way I take pictures and the way I engage with the world now, like appreciating the ordinary things that are around me and how those are part of my story and intentionally pulling those in, it brought all of that to life for me. So I feel like even at the end of the course, I'm not quite done with my book, but I have all the tools. I have the access to what I need to be able to do it, pulling it together and finishing it. But it's also really transformed the way I create and exist in the world and see my story. And I'm intentional about colors and just appreciating the ordinary things that are part of my life and my story and what they bring and getting inspiration from that. So, like, as an artist, as a human, I can't imagine not doing it now because of what it's opened up for me.
Thank you so much, Allison.
I'm on point with what everybody said so far. Like, I feel like I can't top any of the statements that have already been made. When you offered it the second time, I was like, just jumped in with everything I had. And the original idea that I had is the one I'm working on now. And the one I ended up doing kind of just fell into my lap. And I always said, if I just made it for myself, just one copy for me to put all my feelings and emotions and pictures and artwork in one little container and have it on my bookshelf, that would have been enough for me. Just, of course I want to share my story, but I wanted to speak my truth and my journey. And this class just gave me the container for that. And, just, I got so much from the interaction of all the other participants, because everybody had the same questions I had and the same struggles. And you talked about like the technology part of it. That was overwhelming for me, but you broke it down and just made it so like doable. It wasn't like a big, go figure this out on your own. And I remember Susie gave the class about the pictures and the uploading pictures and the kind of like the Photoshop end of it. And, it was just like every time you thought of something that you would need that would stop you from getting this book to come to fruition, you had the answer in the next class. So it's like, it was just a really gentle progression of answers, and everything was just, pictures on my floor and artwork everywhere. And every class just kind of knitted all that together, so that by the end of the book, it was like, oh my gosh, it's finished. Like, I can't do another thing. This is it. It's finished. It's all put together. And it's like, it was just like, I did it. It's something that I wanted to do, and here it is. So I don't know, it just like the class it's just a perfect flow of just what you need to get it to the end. If you just bring your artwork and stick with it, and, just treat it like a friend every day and add to it a little bit every day. And then it just sees itself to the end.
Beautifully said, Stacy.
No, it was such a great experience. Such a great experience. I don't know artistically if I will ever have another, just a class that does so much for your soul. Like, I can take classes online and get artwork finished and completed and all this, but this is like you have a story. Everyone has a story, and then you give it a place to, your soul is between two covers kind of thing. So that's just how I felt. It was just magical, like Susie said, such a magical class, really.
Oh, thank you so much, Stacy.
Welcome.
This is Stacy's beautiful book. I've seen some amazing responses from people about your book. It's about navigating the ruptures of addiction with your alcoholic mother.
Mm-hmm.
And just the power of claiming and sharing that has helped a lot of other people just not feel so alone and resonate.
Gosh, I got some just really powerful messages from people, like just thank you for having the courage to do this, and just putting, like, I recognize myself here, I recognize myself on this page, like I feel like you're telling my story. And I just don't think it's something that's really out there as far as subject matter goes. I mean, not that, I didn't do a lot of writing, but it's not something, it's kind of pushed to the side in people's lives, I guess.
Right.
But this was just so direct, and I was blown away by some of the stuff that people said, just like, thank you for doing this, and I passed it along to this friend, and I passed it along to my sister, and like, I wanted them to hear that there's a shared experience there. So it was really nice. That was nice. I was surprised, but like I said, if just one person got something out of it, that was great. That was like icing on the cake. But then to know that, like, and as far as like how it changed me, I put it between the covers, like I said, and then it's on the shelf, and kind of like I'm finished with that part of my life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not running through my head anymore. It's not running through my heart anymore. It's just, it's safe, and it's put away, and it's been addressed. It's almost like a therapy in a box,
One thing that I want to just start with, which was a question I think that you asked at the very beginning, or I think everyone's touched on it. And so for me, it was a really easy yes, because I knew it right away. But what I do want to say is sometimes we have a really big yes inside, but we're not letting it come through and be revealed. So to other people who aren't sure, it's like, I would invite them to really check in. Like, there might be a part of you that's really saying yes, and maybe there's a bigger part that's kind of afraid or worried or concerned and all those things. But my advice would be trust that. If it's not a big full fat yes right out of the gates, but you feel a yes, trust that yes. Because that's your guiding light. That's your soul calling you to move in this direction. And you don't need to know any of the answers or the outcome or what your book is going to look like. You just need to take the next step that's right in front of you. I knew that I wanted to make a book. I knew that that was something I've been wanting for a while, and I just couldn't wrap my head around how I would even do it. So I always felt like, well, I've got, I got the art, and then, but I don't even know what I'm going to say in there. And I love so many writers and all kinds of quotes that I would want, like things that are meaningful to me, all the different things. And then I would just end up like, I don't know what to do with it all. I don't know where to go with this. And so I think in one of our first conversations way back when, Sabrina and I said, I'm like, I just want to take this pile of stuff, whatever it might be, and hand it to someone else and say, make me a book. Please just make me a book, because I want this book, but like, I don't have a clue how to do it. Because you were asking me some questions about before in the makings of Liberate, I think, like, that's how I felt. And what you delivered to help me make my book was exactly what I needed. And I was able to do it. Like, I can't even believe it. The tech stuff, like, holy MF and Oli, like, wow. When I first sat down with Bookright, I was just like, are you kidding me? Like, what the actual, this is not going to happen. This is not gonna, my partner was there around me at that time, that very first night when I went into Bookright for the first time, and he said, okay, just try it again. And I'm like, no, it's not gonna work. Then I clicked again to try and do something. I don't even, maybe it was just even uploading a picture or something. Okay, just try it again. I think I did it 4 times, and then it worked. And I was like, oh my God, maybe I can do this. And then I would come into the group. And I remember at one time, Susie, there was something around the text thing. And then I was like, oh my God. And now I'm adding the text and all the pages change. And then I might not have the details right, but I remember it was very comforting, Susie, when you, oh yeah, I'm having that same problem. I'm like, oh, thank goodness. Because people's got my back beyond you, Sabrina, which is huge. The community and every step. I felt so supported. Like, I knew I was going to be able to do it. I didn't know what it was going to look like. And the book I made is not the book that I thought I was going to make.
Being more of a personal story, right?
Yeah. And I just loved that the space was there because of how the course was laid out and how we were connecting and what you were sharing, that it became obvious about halfway through that the story that actually wants to accompany these images is a more personal story. Yeah. And the group people were diving into really personal stories. So that also felt really supportive, that we're doing this together. And of course, in your books, of course, are like personal, very personal. So you set the standard, and it's definitely changed my life in a multitude of ways, having my book. And again, I could echo what other people said, that it's, even if it was just the one book, but to have it all right there in front of me in this container, that's still like a living, breathing entity. This book is alive. There's an aliveness. And if I had it with me, this is what I would do, right? That's what it means to me.
Oh,
Just like that, right? That's just such I want to hold it to me. Exactly. I mean, what a gift.
Yeah.
What a gift you've given in creating the course. what a gift in the community, what a gift that I was able to, you know, step in and say yes to it. So a gift to myself, and then a gift to my community and the people that have my book. I mean, I have had people crying in front of me, telling me how much it meant to them. I've had so many people who are just resonating with this same kind of pains that I spoke of, and not feeling so alone. Like, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, even it's just a little teeny micro thing. It's like, it matters. All those little pieces are creating the wholeness of this beautiful world that, yeah, so.
Thank you so much, Tammy. It has gone on to help you kind of step into your place as sort of another, as a leader, and teaching your own courses, and just giving you that confidence to step into that place.
Yeah, which I was like being invited to in my creative community for a long time, but I was so scared. Yeah, I can do my own art and my own thing, but I don't have answers for anyone else. I don't know how to share. What do I have to share, kind of thing. Like, it just, but the response to my book was very clear that people wanted me to share more. Yeah. So that was cool. That was a very cool, unexpected outcome.
I think Tammy, I love what you shared. I just kept smiling and laughing. But I think that one of the things that comes up for people is exactly what Tammy was tapping on there about, you know, they kind of feel the yes, but it feels scary, right? Because they're stepping into something that, like, they don't really know. They don't know what this experience is going to be like. And so I think they're like on the edge of like wanting the certainty, but also wanting to take the step. So I don't know if you want to speak to that, Sabrina, or if anyone else wants to speak to that, like, just kind of what made each of you just go ahead and say yes? Was it a clear yes that you just dove in? Did you kind of wrestle with it? Like, what was the moment that you decided, like, I'm just going to go all in for myself and for my future book?
It's a clear yes, period. I mean, this opportunity is not going to come once a week. So just dive in, and you wouldn't have looked for this opportunity if you didn't have something that was in there that needed to come out, in my opinion. I mean, it's not, there's no coincidence. So it's just, you just have to, if you just stay the course and do the work and really commit to it, it's just a little blip of time that you're actually doing something for yourself and making that commitment to just, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna take it on, and I'm gonna do this, and just dive in deep, and everything will come up that needs to come up to get into this book.
And the other thing, just to add to that, is the creative circles that we're going to be creating this time around, where people will be in small groups, which I think will be really helpful. I think a lot of the people from your guys' round are requesting that. So I think that'll also be helpful, because it's not just the process, right? Like, it's also being supported as you go through it and as you do these things. So that'll be helpful too.
I just want to throw out, it wasn't a clear, I had to like kind of discern a little bit before I took the plunge, and not because of very clear desire. That was not a question, but it's a big commitment and it's a big investment. And I really think the word investment is the right word, because that's what it is. It is. And it's one that, looking back on it, like, I can't believe I hesitated at all, because of what the value that it has brought to my life and what it has brought to me in terms of, when do you get an opportunity to sit with people who are really committed to this, who are curious, and who are like deep soul people in this community with Sabrina and with the people that you have who are amazing, to be able to have conversations. Like, I left every call so inspired. And I mean, I am right now too. I'm like, oh my gosh, it just makes me want to like go create things and go for a walk and like take in all the beauty in the world. And to that, you can't put a price on. Like, it's not, and that's the thing. I think it's so different than anything else I've ever done, because it's so transformative, and because I continue to benefit from it every day a couple of years later. So if you're hesitating at all, like, it's so worth it. And talk to the people who know what being a deep creative person is. That's what I did. I talked to a couple of people that I really trust, that I know the importance of like this book and art and writing and photography and all, just being a creative soul, that know how much that is, that's who I am. And they said, you need to do this. And when I had the affirmation I didn't ask people who wouldn't have an idea about that. And when those people were like, I hear that you really want to do this in the way you're talking about it, so go for it. So if you need that person, I'll be that person to say, if you really want to do this, go for it.
Yeah. Thank you, Allison. And I like that it's available to people they can take it and then take 3 months off and come back to it, or, take 5 months off and come back to it. It's not this feeling like you have to do everything along with everybody else. It's much more flexible that way, where it's a tool and there's that consistent community. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. The first word that popped into my mind was trust. Trust. I needed to trust myself enough to take that step. And that can be really scary, because I'm the one on the hook, like it takes some kind of internal work to make that choice. But once the choice is made and you're in the container, it becomes really obvious that those fears, those initial fears of, is this the right thing for me to do? I would say often will subside, and definitely did for me. And then it was more just like the more practical things, which there's fears around the tech and stuff, but it's a very different kind of fear than a visceral fear of, trauma held in the body of, can I trust myself to do this? So yeah, what a beautiful experience to get to say yes to myself and lean into that. I can trust myself.
Yeah.
And I can make a good decision. And one of your phrases that you used in the course, remember, decisive action, was one of the things I was just like, oh man, I love that. I use that all the time now in my life. Decisive action. Because sometimes you just gotta cut to it.
Yeah.
Right? You just gotta take that. I can swim around in lots of these watery places too, but at some point I just gotta dive in.
Yep.
And trust.
And we really have just one life, we have one time around here. And so just putting things off in like 5 years, 10 years. I mean, I think that so often with seeing these pictures come up of me working on Spilling Open, which is bizarre, because I don't know if you guys have like screensavers where it just picks a random picture from your huge photo library. In the past week, I might get shivers around my legs right now. It's been all the pictures that I'd found a couple of years ago of the process of making the book. They keep coming in, and I keep taking pictures of I'm like, look at that. Just because I almost didn't do it. I almost thought, it was 99% on the side of I'm not going to do this. There's no, people are going to laugh at me. It's not like, who's going to read this? It's going to be, and then just saying yes. And it's like the power of that. And just feeling like I would have lived my whole life not knowing other people related to the feelings that I felt, and just would have cut myself much smaller. I don't know. I just wouldn't be living as full of a life, and to think of unlived life would have been where I was at, not so.
And I was going to say, I would have never done this on my own. There's no way I would have ever. Not only the technical things, like, thinking about where the pages come together and drawing your line across 2 pages, and those kind of things, but I would have never had the confidence to just put this out in the world. Like, the class gives you so much good feedback, and everybody builds everybody up. There's no judgment. It's just like, you need to do this. That looked great. Think about this, think about that. And I can't even imagine doing it by myself. It would have been 3 pages. Just, here you go. These are the ones I thought were good. So, but that element too, like there's just no price for all that. Like, it's just so much support, nonstop support. Just, even if people don't know they're giving support, something that you hear in the class is like, oh, I needed that on page 12. I need to redo that or think about that. You just take so much away from every single meeting. At least I did.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would have never done this by myself.
Yeah.
Allison.
I can remember partway through. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, you're fine.
No, go for it.
I can remember partway through, I was taking screenshots of the book, right? And then I printed out all these screenshots, and then I put together, I wish I would have had it with me, but I put together all these tiny screenshots and I glued them all together and I made this tiny little book.
Oh, yeah.
I was so excited. I was like, oh my God, this is my book. All these tiny little pictures. And I love that tiny book. I love that little tiny book somewhere around, but
That's a
that was
trick.
such a fun, like, that's the thing, like when it starts to feel like, oh, like, I think, do something fun with it so that it can feel like, and then you can dive back in, right? Because if it starts to feel, oh, book right, but the images are like, this is looking good. I need to print these out, but to be so tiny. Oh my God, I love it.
That's awesome.
I have so many thoughts just swirling around in my head. I'll try and fish them out. What Stacy, you were saying about the support in the community, I really, really felt that too. I feel like for me, there was that visceral yes, but there was also a lot of fear. I mean, there was definitely parts of me that were afraid of being seen. There were parts of me that were afraid of change, right? And isn't that normal? Like, wouldn't it be weird to engage in a transforming life event and not have parts of us that would be like, whoa, what are you doing? Right?
Yeah.
So it's for me, those really having conversations with those parts of me and getting clear on that that any sort of even good change can ripple the waters a little bit. But it's also such an opportunity to learn to hear that inner yes, to feel it and to trust it again and again, and build that muscle memory of within that safe cocoon of Liberate, within the community that holds space for you to hear that artistic voice and to keep building it up and to trust it. And so that the trust becomes a muscle that gets stronger and stronger through the whole process.
Mm.
And I can't imagine my life not having done this. And the investment in it just has regenerated over time. And it's been years at this point. And it doesn't end 6 months or 8 months after it's over, because it's something that takes root in you and it continues to grow and it continues to bring forth fruit even years after that last call. I still have Liberate friends, I had a Liberate buddy who we did an accountability. We were Liberate accountability partners. Because I just have a huge problem completing anything. Laundry takes 8 to 14 business days. And so we had this agreement where every Sunday night at 6 p.m. we would text, did you do what you were supposed to do? And I knew that she would keep me accountable so that those voices of fear didn't take over. And it was, just in that part of it, like the creative part of learning to trust that creative voice, of learning to exercise that vulnerability and getting more comfortable with that is just a lifetime worth of work and a benefit that will last forever.
Wow. Thank you, Allison. Oh, you guys. Wish we were all just hanging out together. I want to be really mindful of time. Any last thoughts, Nikki? Any last kind of question?
I'm just sitting over here like, oh my gosh, like, I don't know how anyone can watch this and not be like, yes, because you guys really just spoke to, I'm like, I'm already feeling liberated and I haven't even done it yet. Like, I'm like, is that premature to already feel it? Because yeah, just hearing all of you speak to just the feelings that you had, I think is really important, because I think that's what everyone who's kind of wrestling with, do I do this or not? Like, those are the thoughts that are going through their head. And so just knowing that each one of you face them, some of them was just a clear yes, and others were like, you know, so I think that just knowing that they aren't alone in thinking or feeling that is just so helpful. And just seeing all of your guys' books, like, it's just so heartwarming and incredible to see that, like, you guys went through this and did it. So thank you so much for sharing and for being here, and just it's been incredible. Thank you for allowing me to be part of it.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. One last question about people asking, like, there's a traditional old way of publishing, like where you take the idea to a publisher and you say, this is my book idea, will you give me an advance to do it? And the change in publishing has changed so much that it's much more empowered to the creator of the book, that then they can sell it through Amazon. They can even take that book to a publisher and say, this is a book. So people asking, like, about that side of it. Does anyone want to speak to that decision to do it this way before, or the idea that they could have gone the other direction with it?
I wouldn't have made a book if I had to take it to a publisher, a publisher. It wouldn't have happened. It wouldn't have happened. I mean, I can't even imagine it actually. I might have made a little pamphlet or something, you know. Yeah.
Thank you.
I agree. I wouldn't have done mine through a publisher either. And I have been down that road, not with a book, but with many magazine articles. And just the whole process of jumping through hoops that weren't mine.
Yeah.
But that you had to do just to get a look. And even after Stampington actually started courting me to publish, even then, there were always parameters that I had to meet. And in self-publishing, you get to call the shots. Granted, honestly, you become your own editor, you become your own photographer. But the blessing of that is that you get to control it all. If you don't want to do something one way, you don't have to.
Yeah.
You can do it the way that you're comfortable. And man, there are so many ways to make things work. Even if you don't have everything that you might think you need, any space can become a photography studio. Any space can become an art studio. You can totally do this with what you have, you know. And to me, yes, that's the plus side of self-publishing.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks, you guys. This was wonderful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for asking us.
Yeah.
Thank you all so much.
It's so good. I'm so inspired. It's so good to be with you.
Amen. Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thanks, you guys. I'm so proud of you, and I just adore each of you so much, and I'm so grateful for you in my life. We didn't do this on Facebook Live.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah, no kidding.
Screw the Facebook Live. That's not going to be. That doesn't fit under my category of being life too short to be Facebook.
This was lower pressure. I really,
I will admit, when I reread the email and I realized it was going to be Facebook Live, like my whole chest went like,
Yeah.
Yes.
This worked out great.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is
Facebook
wonderful.
knew and they shut down for us.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, right.
introverts, we won't work for you.
Right. This part should go in the video. We're all talking about
Yes.
Thank God it was live.
introverts. Yeah.
Introverts unite. That's right.
Introverts unite.
Thanks, you guys.
So grateful
Thank
to
you.
all of you. Thank you so much. Be
Bye,
careful.
everybody.
Careful. Well, whatever. Have a great life. Lots of love. Best regards. No accent.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye.